Wouldn't it be great if you could ask your data anything at any time? Like, how are sales this quarter? How's the new marketing campaign performing? What does the overall health of the company look like? And actually get answers right away with charts and graphics and actionable information. You can with Domo's AI and data products platform. Domo lets you channel AI and data quickly, securely, and innovatively to deliver measurable insights wherever and whenever you need them. Anyone on your team can use Domo to easily prepare, analyze, visualize, automate, and distribute data, all amplified by AI. Domo goes beyond productivity. It's designed to transform your processes, helping you make smarter and faster decisions and drive real growth. All powered by Domo's trust, flexibility, and years of expertise in data and AI innovation. The world's best companies rely on Domo to make smarter decisions. See how Domo can help transform yours. Learn more at ai.domo.com. That's ai.domo.com.
The Agile Brand.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Agile Brand, where we discuss marketing technology and customer experience trends, insights, and ideas with enterprise and technology platform leaders. We focus on the people, processes, data, and platforms that make brands successful, scalable, customer-focused, and sustainable. This is what makes an Agile brand. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom, advising Fortune 1000 brands on MarTech, marketing operations, and CX, best-selling author and speaker. The Agile Brand podcast is brought to you by TEKsystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that my latest book, Priority is Action: 7 Principles for Better Strategies, Decisions, and Outcomes, is now available. In it, I give ideas and insights for leaders and teams that need to make meaningful progress on their priorities. After all, our priorities are what we do, not what we say we'd like to do. You can find Priority is Action on Amazon or learn more on my website, gregkihlstrom.com. Now let's get on to the show. Today we're going to talk about the value of learning from data to improve the customer experience. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Matt Swalley, co-founder and chief business officer at Omneky. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hi, Greg. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about this topic with you. Why don't we get started with you giving a little background on yourself as well as what Omneky does?
Sure. So I'm chief business officer and a co-founder of Omneky. I joined the company 2.5 years ago. The company was founded in 2018 by Hikari Senju, who was on his third startup. He's a Harvard computer science grad, knew that data and analytics would be the key to generative AI and scaling content. And so we've been ahead on the vision, and then the technology improvements keep happening. But Omneky helps scale that content as attention spans of consumers is getting shorter and shorter. They're going to all these different places, mobile websites, apps, connected television. Omneky helps them follow their customers at all these places and communicate it in a way that resonates based on data. My background was I started at a large company for 13 years, moved all around the country. I worked for AT&T. I did started out in direct sales. So think making lots of cold calls, meeting with thousands of customers in my early days. I ended up leading a bunch of teams across Southern California, finishing up my last 5 years at Dallas headquarters, where I did some corporate jobs as a chief of staff, supporting the global business officer that ran the multinational businesses. And then the last 2 years were in corporate strategy. I got really excited in corporate strategy about the next waves of growth, AI being one of them. And it was on that year of the bullish market and lots of IPOs. I was like, I would love to go do something, take a risk. And I met Hikari and joined 2.5 years ago.
Great. Well, yeah, let's dive in here and start by talking about learning from our data as marketers. And so, many listening to this have likely heard the term garbage in, garbage out, meaning, if you put, in this case, bad data into your marketing efforts, I guess if you put other bad stuff into your marketing efforts, you're not going to get optimal results either, but particularly data in this context. So, before embarking on AI-based transformation and doing one-to-one omni-channel personalization, it turns into buzzword bingo here, but, we need good data to power all of that, right? So how should marketers think about ensuring they're starting with the best data possible?
Yeah. So the biggest challenge out there, especially for those big businesses out there, is too much data and nothing actionable.
Yeah.
So the race right now is to figure out how do we use what data we have across first party and third party and make it actionable. And the time frames of being able to move on stuff is becoming faster and faster. We'll talk about AI in a second. That's enabling that, but it's mission critical for businesses to move fast. There's new events that happen, changes in the market that if you move fast, you're going to be better off than your competitors. And so, from an advertising standpoint, one of the most beneficial things you can do today is you look at performance data. So advertising's changed a ton over the past couple of years. One is personal information is becoming more and more restricted. What's that leading to? Creative is now the major lever for distribution. For those listeners out there that don't understand what that means, the algorithms for like Meta and Google and TikTok and programmatic, they know the end user. They keep that data. They know, Greg, if you like golf or if someone in your house looked at a specific pair of pants or something. And it's going to serve you a bunch of ads similar to that. You know, when someone in your household looks at something and then all of a sudden you start seeing a bunch of ads on your
Right.
phone, you're like, how did that happen? This happened with me last week. My wife was like, why does this thing you talk about keep showing up? And I'm like, well, I know exactly why.
Right. Right.
And what you can do now though is you bring in the data, and computer vision, which has been around a long, long time, can help quantify and look at the different elements of creative. There's really typically 5 different elements across the different platforms. It could be different. There's a headline text, a primary text, what's they call a call to action, which is like what you're supposed to do at the end of looking at the ad, and then the image or video. And the multivariate creative testing is testing a whole lot of different value props and stories with this, short form video, long form video, images, determining what's resonating and iterating. Well, computer vision can help quantify what are the colors in there, how many people, what's the value prop, a whole lot of the different elements. It can very correctly identify now. And then there's different layers of advertising you can look at. So we look at a number of different ways. Everyone tells a different story. Impressions, for example, is showing you what's getting distributed the most by a platform. That costs money. The other ones are click-through rate, cost per acquisition. If you look at these in different lenses, and our platform does this, they all tell a different story. A ad that's not getting distributed as much may have a better click-through rate, a better sell rate. And then we'll look at the different stories and then figure out what are those elements consistent across all the ads that are driving clicks and purchases. I saw one example recently where percentage off, for example, in an e-commerce company was performing way better than using 2 different prices. Yeah. That's just a small example. And that was shown in the data by looking at percentage off had a much lower conversion rate or a much lower cost per conversion than using using like specific prices in the ads. These are the type of small learnings that can be carried over immediately to creative. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the scaling of content in a minute.
Yeah, yeah, and just to follow up on that piece of it, though, in that example, or in some related examples, what's exactly is the role of AI there, and or is there an additional role that AI can play in helping to learn and understand our data?
Sure. So there's inputs and there's outputs that AI can really do. So in this side of it, on the analyze standpoint, it can just review everything that's been running. For example, we have a bunch of historical data through integrations with the platforms. Brands would have, other data with purchase data and stuff. Well, that computer vision element can help identify the elements and then you can help pull out what are the consistent elements. But it will also actually type up descriptions of what is this ad or what is this video? What is the tone? What is the keywords in it? What is the product, for example? It can even get to that level with tags. And that makes you move much faster, and you can go feed that into AI that does outputs of generation.
Yeah. And so that the speed component here, that's something I wanted to talk about as well. Like, is that one of the primary, because technically, maybe not with huge mountains of data can a person or a human really effectively kind of pour through that. But in many cases, given enough time, human teams can probably figure out somehow what that one type of offer is working better than another. But is speed one of the things that you would highlight as one of the key benefits of AI, of just like speed of analysis?
Yeah, the algorithms of the platforms are changing every day. It's really supply and demand on purchasing and stuff, and they change things. So you can analyze data quicker, but the other aspect is still the plugging that into future creative and shortening that cycle of being able to go from creation to launching. It's
Yeah.
a much shorter cycle that used to take potentially months for some large brands, from strategy to design to copywriting to approval by five different people within their company. You have to really make this cycle much more concise to be able to react to new events that happen out there in the news that positively impact your product, or if you have an event coming up, or most importantly, like if you're a SaaS company and you have retail, banking, and a couple of other verticals, instead of just doing more general ads, you could move much faster in testing more personalized content for each of those audiences. It could do
Yeah.
the other thing too, Greg, I want to mention is localization becomes much easier with AI. One is you can pull in data of if you're running a campaign in a specific geography. Well, AI on the other side can easily go add in, you know, localized cities, things in that area, images potentially of that city to the content much, much faster than historically where you'd have to go do it manually.
Wouldn't it be great if you could ask your data anything at any time? Like, how are sales this quarter? How's the new marketing campaign performing? What does the overall health of the company look like? And actually get answers right away with charts and graphics and actionable information. You can with Domo's AI and data products platform. Domo lets you channel AI and data quickly, securely, and innovatively to deliver measurable insights wherever and whenever you need them. Anyone on your team can use Domo to easily prepare, analyze, visualize, automate, and distribute data, all amplified by AI. Domo goes beyond productivity. It's designed to transform your processes, helping you make smarter and faster decisions and drive real growth. All powered by Domo's trust, flexibility, and years of expertise in data and AI innovation. The world's best companies rely on Domo to make smarter decisions. See how Domo can help transform yours. Learn more at ai.domo.com. That's ai.domo.com.
So let's talk a little bit more about AI, and I want to focus on generative AI. Surprise, surprise. For those listening, we tend to talk about that a lot lately, but your platform does a lot with generative AI, and certainly it's been top of mind for many. So what do you see as the optimal role for not just AI, but specifically generative AI for a marketing team?
It's that buzzword again that you mentioned, personalization, and it's still not to one, Greg. Like when you hear one-to-one personalization, we're not there. The
Right.
platforms will distribute differently for each end user, so it's getting closer. But it's being able to scale that content for all the different audiences, test lots of different copy and different types of ads much more efficiently, and also scaling it to all the other places they could be. So one of the biggest challenges in the past was your Meta and Google historically own like over 50% of the ad market. Well, that continues to decline as new platforms emerge and people's attention spans are getting shorter. Most of the time, internal teams don't have the expertise to go create content for all these different things. And so we look at really at this omni platform approach where we can learn from the brand. So one other thing that AI can do is large language models can scan large data sets and documents and learn like what are the tone, the logo, the fonts, the colors, learn from that, and then what type of content, dimensions, and type of content platforms need, and then help either design images or generate images or scripts for like user generated content. Imagine like an e-commerce UGC is one of the highest user generated content is one of the higher performing things. It can generate scripts based on the data, and you can immediately take that to an influencer or On the other end, Greg, there's AI avatars, which are everyone's seen, but they're continuing to get better. So you could immediately feed that script to an AI avatar where, Greg, you train it on yourself and you're immediately producing content in 15 different cities, all localized just by feeding the script to your own AI.
Yeah, yeah. And so, we talked about the importance of good data being part of those good results, but also, as intelligent as AI is, there's also some, let's call them some gaps, right? AI requires good prompts, and
Yes.
whether that's like Chat GPT style prompts or something more sophisticated or API driven or whatever. It's still, AI isn't going to think of a great idea all on its own.
Yes.
Like we need to prompt it. So how do you see this idea again, whether it's manual prompts or automated prompts or
Yes.
whatever, getting us to the right place? Like how should marketers be thinking about that plus good data?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we see it as a 10% human input on the front. AI can do the middle 80%. The last 10% is review, edit, and approved by a human. That's where we're looking at today.
Okay.
And that human input in the front, and you can make it easier for humans. I mean, like some of our platform actually like refines it makes it really easy. And it's built just for advertising. So we know the exact, inputs that you would want to have better personalized content.
Right.
People are getting tired of prompt engineering. Like right when Chat GPT came out, everyone was like, "Oh, this is amazing! I'm going to go create 10,000 documents." And by like 6 months later, the usage starts to drop because people are tired of thinking what to tell it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that's like the next step of AI is companies simplifying that and then implementing it into the workflow and simplifying the full workflow using AI and different elements of it, and then still like exactly like you said, 10% in the front. What are your objectives? Who's your audience? It's going to have some human elements, and business knowledge, I think, becomes more and more important in really understanding a business. Then if you want to move really fast, that knowledge becomes even greater of importance now.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as, I mean, I guess I've been around a little while, but I look at it as, when search engines were a relatively new idea. There are actually
Mhm.
there are people that are good at search. I actually consider myself good at searching for things on Google. I know that even sounds just ridiculous almost coming out of my mouth, but it's true. Like I know people that are terrible at searching for things on Google. I don't sometimes know how, but I look at this as a similar thing, and like, okay, the internet was a whole new big thing, and some of us were a lot more, just into it early days or whatever. Some of us late adopters or whatever, kind of look at prompt writing and prompt engineering and all that stuff maybe in a similar way. Although, to your point, I think those that have kind of lived through other iterations and other, buzzwords and trends and all that are probably seeing the similarities, much like I'm
Yes.
mentioning here. But I guess, how do you look at this as, how should a marketer and a team of marketers look at this idea of understanding how to write prompts and do all this stuff in terms of their jobs? Like, is it
Yeah.
part of their job? Is it somebody that they're going to bring in for 3 hours to help them construct things, or like where do you see this going in the short term?
I think if you bring someone in for the industry and technologies are moving faster really than anything previously. So if you bring someone in for a short period of time, this isn't an overnight skill you pick up. I know
Yeah.
you said you've been using it quite a bit. It takes constant, just like with anything, constant iterating,
Yeah.
learning how to get the right results. So it takes commitment of spending time every week. And this is one of the things I like mentioning is one of the differences between now and some of the past technologies that were really evolutionary is a lot of people are learning in the open, and there's access to a lot of people that may or may not be stealing someone else's idea, but they're sharing it on X or different places on
Yeah.
how they're producing great outcomes. You constantly need to be learning that. And the second is there's some great newsletters out there, and a lot of them have 5 to 10 new AI technologies or applications on there every week. And I like to go test them. And a lot of them are free for the first, couple hours you use it, you test them, you figure out what you can learn from putting in prompts and what kind of outputs you can get. And it just really helps you across understanding the whole capabilities of the technology. And it also helps you understand, like, from our product standpoint, I'm on the business side. I spend hours and hours and hours figuring out how to fit the pieces together to try to help, product and everything understand the marketing workflow from start to
Yeah.
finish. It
Yeah.
takes lots and lots of trial and learning.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'm always trying out. I swear I sign up for a new platform or two every week and go through the trials. And I've got several different tools that I'll use for different things and
Uh-huh.
all that kind of stuff. And not everybody necessarily has the time to do all of that. But I agree with you as far as like leaders need to understand how this stuff is being, if you're a CMO out there, like you need to understand how these tools can be used. And I know I've cited this several times on the show, but like there's statistics out there of like some very large percentage of employees that are using chat GPT or other things like that without telling their bosses,
Hmm.
and that's a huge problem too.
Yeah.
So I think, and I think you're touching on that too, is like the openness and the transparency of using this. Like it's a benefit to everybody, and leaders that kind of cut it off and just say no, don't use it, like that's not helping anybody. How would you recommend that an organization kind of, maybe they're not ready to roll this stuff out to their end customers yet, but how might they look at it internally as a, almost a think tank or something?
Sure. So if you one is companies are starting to build like more siloed, more on-premise, things, so it's going to be safer in the long run for
Yeah.
enterprise. The second is sometimes if you don't want to feed it data that's like proprietary, especially large brands could have new products coming out and stuff, and they're like, we don't want this touching anything open.
Yeah.
You can just go test it with something that's not real or not your company. Like go test it just from learning. Create a fake brand. Like a lot of times I'll just go create campaigns and ads with our product just so I can see the process of something that's completely nothing to do with Omneky, even like just an idea to see if I could take it from start to finish quickly. So
Yeah.
just you can test it that way. Yeah, that's one of my recommendations.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Matt, thanks so much for joining today. One last question before we wrap up here. You've given a lot of great advice and insights. What's one next best action that you recommend for those out there listening, that kind of going back to the first topic that we talked about, those listening that they want to get better results more quickly from their data? What's something they could do today?
I would say, well, use tools like Omneky where you can get insights from like quick insights, like more real time. Try to look at it from different lenses from your different audiences or campaigns and different conversions. Like one of my favorite things is just looking through those different conversions and seeing different creative insights. What type of ads are performing well? What are the commonalities between these? This is like what our platform simplifies. And then go iterate off those. Go test. One of the biggest things too is just minor tweaks to video ads, for example. Different music, different small tweaks can actually make advertising perform way better. So use some of the AI tools, but look at data through different lenses and figure out what's performing the best and test a few new things.
Wonderful. Great advice. Love it. Well, again, I'd like to thank Matt Swalley, Chief Business Officer at Omneky, for joining the show. You can learn more about Matt and Omneky by following the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening to the Agile Brand, brought to you by Tech Systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.gregkillstrom.com. That's GregKihlstrom.com. While you're there, check out my series of best-selling Agile Brand guides covering a wide variety of marketing technology topics, or you can search for Greg Kihlstrom on Amazon. The Agile Brand is produced by Missing Link, a Latina-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, they craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Until next time, stay agile.
The Agile Brand.